So, Mike, why come back now?
Well, that's a point in where I think this team has a lot of promise. A lot of good young players, has some very good players currently on the team. Won a Silver Slugger at first base, second base and shortstop are looking really good. Third base, guns up, Texas Tech the whole way. You got to like that. And a couple really frontline pitchers. You know, Martine had a really good year. Jonathan Gray's got a lot of promise. Got some young prospects on the way. So I think it's a healthy organization right now. And I get to sleep in my own bed, bottom line.
That was important at this point in time.
Very, very. I've been doing it a while, and sometimes it wears on you. You know, you do hit an age of be nice to be home and slow down a little bit, and I think this is a good way to slow down. Get to sleep in my own bed and pet my dogs and take them for walks and things like that. Things I haven't been able to do for the last 7 years.
How have you changed, if at all, over the last 7 years, personally and coaching-wise?
Less hair, higher handicap. Coaching, I think I've remained the same, which, you know, we adapt. Everybody adapts. You know, as players, you adapt. You adapt to the rule changes. You adapt to climates. You adapt to different leagues. And there's so much information out there nowadays that you have to adapt to that information. You have to adapt to the player to get through to the player. Now, you have your convictions, and I have my convictions that I love to pass on. We can use a lot of information to communicate those convictions to younger players. And we got guys nowadays that, you know, when they took their pitching lessons or their hitting lessons, they had to give them information. So this information is the language that they speak. That's been one of my challenges in this game, is to learn that language so that I can translate them into my convictions and just try to pass on wisdom. You know, what we give, there's a lot of information out there, but we have to give wisdom. And wisdom backed by the information tends to get their attention. So I really haven't changed a whole lot other than some techniques of how to get the message across.
What's your relationship like with Bochy?
I'm really looking forward to finding out. You know, Bochy has always been a contemporary from across the field. Bochy and I did baseball camps back in the 80s in Las Vegas, way back when. And then he kind of went his way and I went my way, and, you know, we circle back some 30 years later and we're going to work together. I look very forward to it, man. His track record is, you know, I worked with Wash, who was fantastic, Dusty Baker, fantastic. And you look at Bochy's record, they're better than both of those guys. So I'm looking very forward to working with Bochy.
So what adaptations do you think you're going to have to make this time around?
Going to need a road map to find my way through this stadium. This is an unbelievable place. I've never seen anything like it. Just getting to know new guys. You've done it once or twice, it's all the same. Or, you know, getting to know people and just, you know, try to handle people and treat people the way you want to be treated. So I'll just stay with that template. But what a ballpark. Can you believe this place? This is like when I got a tour of it, Blake Miller took me on a tour of this place. And number one, I had to pack a lunch because it took a while, but it's the Shangri-La. I mean, there's no better place than this. I've never seen a facility like this.
You know, it's also cool in here during the summertime.
Yeah, it is. You know, we won a lot of games here, you know, in blazing heat. We always felt it was like a home field advantage, you know, when you saw some other teams warming up in the batting cages indoors, and then they'd come out and the heat wave would hit them, and after they took their 8 in the first inning, they were out of gas. So we used to train in it. We use it as an advantage, but I think as an everyday player, climate control is really much easier on the body, easier on injuries too.
Mike, how would you refresh everybody on what your convictions are?
My convictions? Command the fastball and change speeds, man. That's the big thing about it. You got to be able to pitch with your fastball. You got to have more than one pitch per strike. You got to lay your heart and soul out there. You got to believe that you can do it, man. You got to be convicted in what you do. If you're out there and you're wondering if you can do it, ain't going to work. You got to know you can do it. And, you know, that's where you use the information to say, hey, you can do this. You know, it's all how you get the player to buy into themselves. And I think that's all we want out of anybody is we just want every player to be the best version of themselves that we can get. And how we do that, we all have our own techniques. But that's the challenge of it. That's the fun of it because, you know, you might have, in spring training, might have 33, 34 different pitchers. You might have to have 33 different ways of conveying the same message. So that's what we do. That's how we adapt.
Is it harder on pitching coaches to be more of a filter now? Because you do have to filter out that information, more of the information.
You got to know what's relevant to that player. That's the big thing. How are you going to get him to communicate? How are you going to get the buy-in? So,
Who have you talked to on the pitching staff so far?
I talked to Martin Perez. I was introduced yesterday. I met Mr. Hearn, Mr. Howard. Saw them in the weight room. So, met a lot of people yesterday, a lot of familiar faces, some new faces. But it was good to, doesn't seem that long ago, does it, Tawny? Doesn't seem that long ago. And Gohan, nobody's called Gohan for a while either, but he responded right to it.
So, yeah, I mean, so what's the next 3 weeks look like for you as far as?
Coming in here, hooking up to the video, seeing guys pitch, what they do well, what they do well that maybe they don't do. If we can add something, just use, you know, pitch usages, you know, how do we command our stuff? You know, you can look at the metrics on everything and, you know, it is what it is, but how do we use it? And that's what I want to put eyeballs on, you know, watch some highlights, see what guys do. And just really familiarize myself with the personnel. And from there we can get a better idea of what we want to do going forward. Get a plan for everybody so that they're not spinning their wheels about what spring training is going to look like. Just try to go through it. It's going to take some time. But, you know, if I can do a couple of guys a day and reach out to them and say, here's what we got to do, and let them get their hands around it, get their arms around it, be ready for it, I think we're going to get a head start on it. It'll be a lot. It'll be a lot mixed in with the holidays. And deer camp. And fishing trips. And golf.
How important is having a true ace for a playoff series these days?
It's definitely helpful, that's for sure. But sometimes that true ace might not be the guy you thought it would be. You know, you go in there with your guns loaded, you got your guy that's going to throw game one, and your guy that's going to throw game two. And you look back at some of the better games that we saw during our run. How about, you know, game 5 of the World Series? That was Derek Holland threw. You know, we had Cliff Lee the year before, and, you know, he sure answered the bell in the playoffs, and he was outstanding. But, you know, Kobe Lewis came through some great games too. Was he our ace? But no, he was in those games. So I think that your horses, you know, your premier players, you know, they're like, it's a horse race. Everything's a horse race, and they're going to get you. They're going to get you close to that finish line, but the jockey's going to be the one to win it. And I think it's those other players or the jockeys, you know, that, oh, wow, man, that guy really stepped up. You know, yeah, Adrian Beltre got his hits, he got his hits, but damn, Hanser Alberto got a couple big knocks when he was playing for Adrian. Or,
sure.
You know, Elvis had a really big offensive series. And, you know, just you never know who's going to be that big guy. And you look at this year with Houston, help me out with his name.
Pena?
Javier, the guy
Oh,
went
you're
out there
talking
and threw
about
the 6 no-hit innings or whatever, just on almost a spot start. Or Garcia in the Seattle game where he pitched 6 innings and 7 innings in relief. You never know who your ace in the hole is going to be.
What were your conversations with Chris like leading up to you being hired, especially given his background as a player?
All positive. All positive. I think Chris and I share a lot of the same grassroots. He played with my brother, and he's made some references to how much he helped him. You know, mind you, this is 20 years ago, or not that, you know, however long ago it was, but, you know, we're all aging. But just, you know, some of those little tidbits that he got from him that he totally believed in, and oddly enough, little brother and I bet him being a Hall of Famer, and some of us not, have a lot of the same fabric of the way we think and the way we think the game should be played. And Chris is right there.